Seeing as how visiting my partner was as much of a dead end as he was, and the thugs weren't up to giving any answers either, I was flying blind. And like a blind man at an orgy, I was gonna have to feel things out. Hello there everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, here to continue our look at the first edition Pathfinder Investigator. Today we are going to be wrapping up your class abilities, and these are probably some of the most important class abilities for you, at least when it comes to combat. Inspiration definitely is going to be your overall most important ability, just because that affects your ability checks, your skill checks, your saves, as well as also applying to combat. And of course, we still need to do a bit more of a breakdown on investigator talents, which ones you're going to want to pick out, and a couple at least to look out for as ones you probably want to avoid. But before we get into all of that, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. And just remember, as I try to often say, these guides are just that. They're guides. And they're not even guides necessarily for the most broken and over-optimized thing that you could possibly build. This is a guide to make a functional and effective character. Not necessarily busted, but definitely not broken in a way that's going to leave you feeling helpless and frustrated. This is to help you get a feel for how the class is supposed to work. Certainly there are going to be better ways of building the class, but these should still tide you over pretty well. And, you know, not everybody necessarily wants to build into and play the most optimized thing possible. Sometimes we're just much more interested in the story than the wargaming aspect of it. But now, let's actually start diving into things here. So, at level 4, this is where the class really starts to take off, because you get studied combat. It's a move action to study one visible enemy that you can see completely and totally, so if they're obscured behind cover and the like, or they're invisible to you, you can't study them, obviously. To add 1/2 your investigator level as an insight bonus to attack and damage rolls. So that's pretty huge right there. At level 4, this is a +2 bonus to your attack and damage, and this does a lot to help you overcome the fact that you're getting a 3/4 attack bonus progression. And also the fact that you're getting additional damage to this as well just makes this even better. This lasts a number of rounds equal to your intelligence modifier, which does kind of hurt a little bit because it's 3 rounds, but it's not the worst thing in the world either, especially since we're going to be focusing on our intelligence overall. But this damage is precision damage and is not multiplied on a critical hit, so bear that in mind. And you can only have one studied target at a time, and once it ends, you must use 1 inspiration to have studied combat affect the same target again on the same day, so within a 24-hour period. Now, that also hurts, but it is nice that you're able to apply this again if you need to. And really, the only targets you're going to apply this to, or need to apply this to multiple times, are going to be the truly threatening targets. So really, that makes this not that bad. It's just you're going to want to be careful with how you're spending your inspiration, because now it's starting to spread a little bit thin between all the different options that you have for making use of your inspiration. But again, the fact that you're adding 1/2 of your investigator level as an insight bonus, so it's going to stack with a fair number of other bonus types to your attack and damage rolls, is huge. That's a big boost in damage there and makes you much more effective and viable in combat where this class wants you to be. Just bear in mind, this will not apply to ranged attacks. This is only going to be in melee. Now, for the next level you get at level 4 is Studied Strike. It's a free action to deal an additional 1d6 precision damage to a studied target and increases by 1d6 every 2 levels up to a maximum of 9d6 at level 20. That's 9 6-sided dice, not 96. Attacking with the weapon that deals non-lethal damage converts the damage to non-lethal. This effect ends studied target. You must be able to see the target well enough to detect vital points, and they must be vulnerable to precision damage overall. But that said, this is still a huge boost in damage. The only negative to this is that this is going to end your studied target bonuses. So ideally you use this towards the end, or when you think the target is vulnerable enough and potentially could be finished by the strike. But that said, play your character how you think you want to play the character, how you think they would react and do things in the midst of a fight. If you think that right off the bat is going to be enough damage for them to take down a target, then go for it. Next, at level 4, you're going to pick up Swift Alchemy. Alchemical items are made in 1/2 the time, and you can apply poison to a weapon as a move action instead of a standard action. That is a nice boost right there, but now already we're running into a situation where your action economy is going to be challenged a bit, because remember, studied combat also takes a move action. So now you have 2 separate instances where a move action could potentially be used here. That said, Swift Alchemy pales in comparison to studied combat. Poison damage, while the different effects that you can apply with poison, they can be useful, more often than not, just outright getting bonuses to hit and doing damage is going to be your go-to move, and maybe applying poison is going to be something you do outside of combat to get prepared for things, or maybe you rig up something like, say you're using a sword cane, and the sword and part of the cane apparatus includes a system that applies poison when you reinsert the actual sword part into the cane sheath. So there's lots of ways around this, but it is still nice to not be able to not have to worry about accidentally poisoning yourself, and all of that, and being able to apply poison to a weapon as a standard action. All of that comes together. It's pretty nice. It fits overall with investigators, but really the biggest benefit here is not having to take as much time to make alchemical items. That can be handy, especially in session downtime and the like. You can feasibly produce more, especially if that's going to be your investigator adventurer's side gig kind of a thing. And then lastly, at level 20, your capstone ability, you get True Inspiration. And this one is quite nice, especially in comparison to other classes' capstone abilities. You can use Inspiration on all ability checks and skill checks, including untrained skills, without spending Inspiration points. When using Inspiration on these or saving throws and attack rolls, you get to add 2d6 to the check. This also stacks with investigator talents that either increase the die size or give a roll twice, take the higher result effect. They roll 2 sets of 2 dice and take the higher result. So say you have the investigator talent that increases your inspiration dice to to a d8. So now you're rolling 2d8. And if you have another talent that allows you to give a roll twice, take the higher result effect, then you roll 2d8 twice, and if say you get a 10 and a 14, you get to take the 14 right off the bat there. That's a pretty huge bonus and a great benefit to you overall. But the real kicker is not having to spend inspiration points at all on all of your various ability and skill checks, and you could potentially be using a lot. This makes you a walking library of information. This is a great ability to have. Now, like many of the other classes, they do have an alternate capstone ability, but really, True Inspiration, I think, outweighs it by quite a bit, because this just meshes really nicely with all the other class abilities. It's very synergistic. It comes together beautifully. But this is where we are going to wrap things up. I apologize that this is a short one today, but this is overall mostly your combat abilities here, aside from Swift Alchemy. Although again, you can argue applying poison to a weapon as a move action is a nice combat ability, but it's okay. It just it's not as good as studied target, as your ability to study a target and get bonuses equal to half your level on attack and damage. That's huge. By the time you're level 8, you're getting a +4 bonus to your attack and to damage. Sure, the damage isn't multiplied on a crit, but goddamn, are you ever more likely to hit your target and be able to enjoy just that flat damage boost overall. It's absolutely fantastic. A great set of abilities here for the class, and we'll be sure to go over more later on. We're going to take a look at the various investigator talents for next episode, ones that you're ideally going to want to pick, and some examples of okay ones or ones that you just really probably want to avoid for most builds, unless it fits your character's motif overall. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below and we'll engage in discussion. And remember, if you haven't done so already and you've already made it this far, why not go down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.